Hey Blair, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey. I hear you, but I don't see you.
Working on it.
I was just checking my visuals. There you are. I like how you're in that painting. That's cool.
Yeah, I have trouble with my virtual background at home. So I just put myself into a frame.
It's very relaxing. It's like you got the chair next to you. It's like, come over and have a conversation.
Yeah, it's like, come sit down.
I like this blur one because it's kind of, you're kind of being.
Yeah, it's weird, but
Yeah.
when my computer updated, it didn't give me the blur option at home
Oh, that's
on my
good.
laptop. It only works, I think, at work, but for some reason on my work laptop, it doesn't work.
Vagaries of updates and computers. Well, let's see. We got a few more minutes. I'm going to try to munch on something really quick, I think. I'm going to show the presentation in a PDF form rather than a PowerPoint because I'm also having to look at a Word document while I do it. And I've just got this one screen. So I don't think that's going to detract from it much. So anyway, there's James. Well, I'll be back.
Okay. Hi, James.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, Alyssa.
How are you doing?
I had a weekend of birthday celebration. Just got back from Charleston, so I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I love Charleston.
As do I.
Yeah, my family and I used to go there every single summer.
And
Sorry,
hey,
Lisa, I was talking over you there. I didn't.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
and hey, if you
Hey.
love Charleston, you have a
Did
good
you say birthday
excuse
for
to
you?
go.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Terry. So if you love Charleston, you have a good excuse to go 2 Saturdays from now. There's a good music show at the Charleston Music Hall. You should go
I
see
am
it.
going 2 Saturdays from now.
Actually, I
Are
think
you?
Matter of fact, yeah, I'm taking my son on a little scout excursion, and so it's weekend after this one. So what's
Yeah,
going
I-
on?
Well, there's a Southern Rock, low country Southern Rock show at Charleston Music Hall. You should go.
I'll take my 9-year-old.
I am off that weekend.
Yeah, you guys should go. It's a little production of mine, so I can use
Production of
all the
yours?
support I could get.
So you'll be performing?
I won't be performing. My artist will be performing.
Ah,
I'm just behind the scenes.
mastermind.
Some of them.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hey, Deepa.
Good evening, Deepa.
Good evening.
I am going to be driving for next literally 5 more minutes reaching home. So you will have to bear with me. I'll keep myself mute, but I'm part of the meeting. I will speak where I need to.
Oh, we'll have to have Alyssa go through all her safety protocols and everything for driving while.
Yeah,
Add
I have
to-
a stand,
add to
so
her
I don't have
workload.
to worry. I am hands-free still, so not to worry.
Hi, James. How you doing?
Hello, Scott. Doing good.
Glad to hear
So I'm doing the same thing. I'm probably right ahead of you, Deepa. I will put my video 5 minutes.
I'm gonna have to add a disclaimer.
it. Oh yes.
Don't vote and drive.
Oh my gosh, no doubt. These corporate jobs, they just don't understand.
Town of Waxhaw will not be held responsible.
Yeah, I'm seeing all kinds of disclaimers. Better get ready, Alyssa.
We'll come up with something.
Agreed. Safety first, no worries. Yes.
Yeah, Deep. It looks like you're on third world roads there, bouncing around and everything. You got Dodge's.
I'm on our favorite Providence Road.
You got Dodge's potholes.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Providence.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a street cruise, public works? You know.
NCDOT.
And there's gonna be more of it.
DOT, okay.
I think
answer.
NCDOT is waiting until the road widens in like 20 years, you know.
Well, we've got a light going in at some point soon.
I think they're working on that now.
Make sure the pole is further ahead in the hope that the road is getting widened.
Mhm.
Hi, Nicholas. Well, we got 6:30. I'll give it one more minute,
Okay.
and then we'll get started.
Okay.
Got to be prompt for planning board
Mhm.
under this regime.
Exactly. Potholes or no, you gotta be
Right.
prompt. And where are you guys going fishing, by the way?
Who's that addressed to, Scott?
Who's going fishing?
Oh. Yeah, who's going fishing?
Oh, I thought you were going fishing, Blair.
Oh, no, we're going on a scout trip. I don't know that there'll be any fishing involved. It's mostly just a camping. But I don't know. We should bring some poles just in case.
So you're just gonna catch a bunch of no-see-ums then, aren't you?
Who knows? Gosh, yeah.
All right, we got Charlie. All
Yep,
right,
we have
great.
everyone. We have everyone now, Scott. So if you want to go ahead.
Okay, welcome, Bob. All right, so I have 6:31. So I'm smacking the gavel. I'm officially calling to order this Waxhaw Planning Board meeting for April 19th, 2021. Action item B, determination of quorum. Alyssa, will you please review your Zoom virtual meeting procedures and perform a roll call?
Okay. Before I do roll call, I would like to go over a few logistics. Please remember to keep your video on during the meeting and mute yourself when you're not speaking so that all members can be heard. Please remember to identify yourself when making a comment or motion. All voting on items must be conducted by roll call. I will now conduct roll call. When I call your name, please indicate if you're present. Chairman Scott Shelton,
Chairman Shelton, present.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan,
Present.
Nicholas Nash, Nicholas Nash. I see you on your camera.
Maybe it's an audio issue. Maybe he can just like shake his head.
Nick, can you wave your hand to say you're present? Okay, he's present. Terry Nolan,
Hi, I think you might have called my name. I'm having problems with the
Yep.
audio and I'm trying to switch devices.
You're
I am
good.
here.
Okay. Deepa LeMay,
Deepa Limay, present.
Charlie Thomas,
Present.
and James Granger.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have quorum. And at this point, Alyssa, do we have any public comments?
We do not have any public comments.
Okay, then we'll proceed on to agenda item C, adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve, Bob Morgan.
Great, thank you. We have a motion from Bob. Can we have a vote, Alyssa?
Chairman Scott Shelton,
Chairman Shelton, aye.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan,
Aye.
Nicholas Nash, Terry Nolan.
Terry Nolan, aye.
Is that an I, Terry?
Yes, aye.
Deepa LeMay,
Deepa Limay, aye.
Charlie Thomas,
Charlie Thomas, aye.
James Granger.
Aye. Jim Granger, yes.
The ayes have it.
Thank you, Alyssa. So next order of business is the approval of minutes, meeting minutes for March 15, 2021. Do we have any corrections for the meeting minutes for March 15th, 2021? I assume we do not have any corrections. So can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for March 15th, 2021?
Bob Morgan, making a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you. Alyssa, can we have a vote?
Chairman Scott Shelton,
Chairman Shelton, aye.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan,
Aye.
Nicholas Nash, Terry Nolan,
Aye.
Deepa LeMay,
Aye, Deepa Limay.
Charlie Thomas,
Aye.
and James Granger.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you, Alyssa. So we'll roll on to the next item on the agenda, new business, E.1, consideration for removal of planning board member for absenteeism according to section, I don't know, Bob, I would have to go for you on these Roman numerals, but for the planning board rules of procedure. So with this, I will open the floor up to discussion. The member in question is Stephania Coffey. Does anybody have anything they want to discuss on this business item? Well, with that said, this is, we've had, I believe, 4 absenteeisms at this point consecutive. And the last time I checked, I haven't seen any communication from this board member. So with that, I will call for a motion on this item. Would anybody like to make a motion?
So just to clarify, no communication from the absent member since the beginning?
There has been communication. It was more towards the beginning when she was appointed to the planning board, but with between the last time she was at a planning board meeting and now, she hasn't communicated with us except for one time when she said she would be present and she wasn't. And I think that was back towards the beginning of the year. But other than that, it's almost impossible to get in communication with her. And she's been absent 4 times in a row.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. It's just a tough call to make. Want to make sure that it seems like a voluntary withdrawal, honestly, but through unknown circumstances. So I'll make a motion to dismiss the member based on absentee.
Okay, we have a motion from Terry Nolan. Is there any additional discussion? Anyone? No additional discussion. Would like to have a vote. Alyssa, please.
Chairman Scott Shelton,
Chairman Shelton, aye.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan,
Morgan, aye.
Nicholas Nash, Terry Nolan,
Aye.
Deepa Lemay,
Deepa Limay, aye.
Charlie Thomas,
Aye.
and James Granger.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you, Alyssa. Now on to next order of business, E.2, pedestrian plan update. I'll turn our attention over to Senior Planner Blair Israel for town staff's presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Scott. I do have a little bit of a update for you, so bear with me as I share my screen and have some graphics to so you can take it all in. What you see before you, I hope, is the project schedule. Does everybody see that?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, good. This is just to give you a quick overview of the calendar. The project is basically divided up into an existing conditions phase, an analysis of those conditions and the outreach involved with that, and then finally the plan development. And so you can see on the timeline on the right that there are 2 steering committee meetings involved in the existing conditions portion of it, and then another steering committee meeting. You'll see that number 3 kind of blue dot there. That's a 3rd steering committee meeting, and then a 4th one expected, although not absolutely required. So there's steering committee meetings, and we'll go through it in more detail. You'll notice also public workshops. The workshops are shown in the star outlines. And so you can see in April, there was one. And so I'll go into details about the findings of that. And so that's just the quick overview of the elements that are involved in each thing. But let me dive into it in more detail now. Where we are right now is in phase 1, really studying existing conditions. There was an initial steering committee meeting. Some of this might be familiar because we've had one update already, but I'll just try to glide through it quickly. And that first steering committee meeting was in February. It's the first of possibly 4, where they looked at existing conditions data that had been gathered by VHB, the consultant, with the help of town staff. That we provided a lot of the data of how the state of the town right now. A development of a vision statement. The planning of the first public meeting, which has taken place already. Also the development of the survey tool, which is still out right now. And then I just want to mention that as part of the steering committee meeting, we had great representation from not only the local steering committee people who were composed of representatives for the schools, for the health community, and for downtown businesses in particular, but also NCDOT, the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization that is so involved in getting projects built and quantified and rated. And then also Carolina Thread Trail, that's CTT. So we had that first steering committee meeting. We had a public engagement meeting, which just to give you a little bit of detail about that, that was again put on by VHB, the consultant, with help of town staff. NCDOT was there at the meeting, and this was a virtual meeting, and Carolina Thread Trail. And so we were not overwhelmed by people who tuned in live for that event, although those that did had questions. There was some Q&A time. It was just 7 people, but they were all engaged in it. But afterwards, we have totaled so far a number of 168 viewers of that YouTube recording. And I just want to mention also that there were 50 viewers of the previous planning board meeting that we had of the where we presented the first update of the pedestrian plan. So anyway, there has been a good bit of public outreach, and I think in a great deal of thanks to just the advertisement that's gone out. Elisa has been very involved in that. We'll go into more detail in a second. Because our other means of public outreach has been through the survey itself. And that's done on MetroQuest, which I believe we introduced you to last time we gave an update. We've had wonderful results from that. We've had, to this point, 355 participants, which I think is great. The consultant says it's outstanding compared to others that they've seen. That survey closes May 5th, so there's still a lot of opportunity for people to take that survey. And we have, I don't have a graphic of it at the moment, but we've put out flyers. Elisa designed a flyer that we printed out and put that out, but then we also used our usual social media and newspaper media to get the word out. So that's been a very successful, and we'll have results of that survey in just a second to show you. So that's kind of where we are. And then as far as what's coming up, we're still in phase one where we're talking about existing conditions. The next the next actions that will be taking place are the interviews. This will be mostly focused on Waxhaw staff, different members of staff representing Parks and Rec, planning, engineering, and public works. So they'll do more of a deep dive into each one of those concerns and the issues that we're each aware of within town staff. And then the next steering committee meeting will probably be in early June, and that will consist of a review of the goals, objectives, and as you can see, also survey and public meeting results. And we'll be, with that information, we'll be looking to refine the goals of the project, identify priority networks that we would like the consultant to focus on in this pedestrian plan, and then discuss also design standards that could be utilized in Waxhaw. And then after that, phase two we'll move into, and that will involve actually drafting up the plan, and then a final public engagement meeting to reveal that plan and get feedback on what people think of it. The plan is going to include a lot of things. It's very comprehensive, and I know because I've done a lot of these plans in the past as a private consultant. They're huge. What NCDOT outlines that each of these plans need to include is very comprehensive. But just a couple of things to list here. The focus will be on critical pedestrian crossing locations and the kinds of improvements that would work best in those areas. The options for priority corridors, places that we really need to focus our efforts on, both in planning, design, implementation. Identifying, if possible, platted rights of way and easements that can be utilized. We'll be coordinating with the applicable regional agencies, and this is to ensure consistency with regional bicycle or multi-use paths, such as Carolina Thread Trail. That's why they're on our steering committee, but we'll be reaching out to them and other efforts. And then also, as part of that, there's pedestrian walkways, there's trail systems, all the different ways that those, the variety that takes shape on the regional level. And we'll be identifying corridors for further study. So that public engagement, I just want to mention, we've got it hopefully slated for July, and we hope by then that we can have an outside meeting. We know that we can do an outside meeting because we've done them under COVID. We did it with the growth strategy and just had it outside under a roof, and it worked great. So we think we can do it outside for this for sure. and just being able to have that person-to-person contact that's so vital in doing a plan, not only because we learn from it and we get more direct input, but because also people feel more heard in that format. So we feel that that's very important. Just to give you a quick little rundown on some of the responses from the survey, like I mentioned, the MetroQuest survey has been heard by 350, or has been participated in by 350 folks, and their answers have been very enlightening. And you can see here this graph of the participants, how it's grown, and so we're very encouraged by that. And then let's see, here we go. What the survey has revealed, among other things, is what people feel are the main barriers to them getting out and walking more. And usually, really the top three have been that they feel that the crosswalks, the crossings are very unsafe. They don't want to walk out into the vehicular flow. So that's a big concern. The fact that our networks of sidewalks, even though we have a lot of sidewalk, the networks are somewhat disconnected. I want to mention that that's not just a function of not having sidewalks along all our roads. The fact is that our roads are very unconnected. So it's an issue for drivers and it's an issue for pedestrians. However, with pedestrians, you have more options. You can do off-road trails and other kinds of off-road facilities. You don't have to just follow the roads themselves. And so we'll be looking at that and looking at ways to connect the networks where the roads themselves are not connected, and also to focus on where sidewalks are needed where we do have roads, but for some reason the sidewalks didn't get built when the roads were, or when the developments happened, or the fact that there's not development along certain roads and we're waiting for that development to build the sidewalks. Another big concern, though, is just unsafe vehicular behavior. So these are all things that seem pretty obvious, but we want to document it for the plan and really decide where our focus should be. Other factors that were mentioned and that are still very important are just maintenance of existing facilities, people's personal concern about their own safety, and that can mean because of traffic, or a lot of times it's because of poor lighting. They just don't feel safe walking in certain places. Lighting is broken out from that, I should mention. So you can see those are other issues that have come up in the survey. And I want to show you where people have responded from their self-designated home. In other words, not everybody answered the question of, what neighborhood do you live in? But we did get a lot of answers, and you can see the blue dots kind of represent where there were a majority or larger groups of people. You can see the little numbers in there. And then we have some additional, single units in those little homes. These are the icons that the consultant chose to just kind of paint a picture of where the results are coming from. So we're not reaching everywhere as well as we'd like. And so we want to redouble our efforts in those places where we feel are underrepresented for whatever reason. And try to reach folks, give everybody a voice. So that MetroQuest helped us determine that. So that's just a quick update of where we are with the pedestrian plan. And I do have a lot more information just in various documents about some details, particularly with the community meeting, the virtual community meeting, kind of like what were the specifics that were talked about, what were the questions raised and such. And I can send that document out if desired, but this update was just to let you know where we are at the moment and to just get your input on that. So I want to open it up to, hand it back to you, Scott, and just see how y'all want to weigh in on this. Thanks.
Thank you for the presentation, Blair. Yes, we'll open the floor up to any questions at this time.
So I just have a couple comments and maybe a couple questions. There's been some talk in the community about this. I think it's really exciting. I know I'm excited to see what we put together here. And I love the buzz in the community around it. There's still a lot of talk about the land development code and all the new things coming. So just feedback. I know we all live in Millbridge, half of us anyway, and you probably hear it too from here, but definitely in social media. So great news there. In earlier meetings, we talked about potentially adding a shuttle system as part of the pedestrian walkway, maybe for handicapped people or just others that can't quite walk. If I recall correctly, we were looking to make a pathway from, all the way from Curitan to Kensington and kind of down to Waxhaw. So that's quite a jaunt for some. So I don't know if we have the budget for that or if that's something we want to just keep on the books for later. That would be great. Also, it's come to my attention, somebody mentioned to me that in other areas of the country that cities are able to use abandoned railway paths free of charge. In fact, they're looking for people just to kind of take over. So I don't know if we have those here, but I just wanted to mention it in case we wanted to add it to the list to take a look at. I know we've got quite a CSX network back there, and I know we're working with them on other things as well. So I just thought I would mention it. And then I wondered, Blair, as soon as I was saying to myself, lighting, you said lighting. Curious, do we have a lighting plan yet, or we're still too early maybe in that development, but maybe, of course, if we add walkable paths, we're going to want to maybe add some lighting to that, and might be different lighting than what we do for regular street lights, maybe some low output luminaires or something with a more yellow, appealing glow, maybe timing, efficiency lighting. And I think one of the plans we had was to keep Waxhaw alive past 9 p.m. for our businesses on the weekends too. So if we had lighting that really just illuminated and kept everybody safe, whether they're walking or shuttling or whatever to downtown. So those were just a couple of random thoughts I had.
All right, well, I'm making notes of what you're saying, Terry, and I do remember some of it from previous meeting that I will pass along to the consultant. As far as a lighting plan, we do not have an overall master plan for lighting, but lighting is an element in this pedestrian plan. And so to some degree, this pedestrian plan can serve as that overall plan. I know that lighting is always a big part of the discussion for any of the projects that we're doing that involve like a city block or a stretch of road or whatever. We did the East neighborhood when we were just incidentally, when we were looking at a grant to improve the sidewalk along Howie Mine, the input that we got from the neighborhood was that they didn't really care so much about a sidewalk. What they cared about was better lighting and drainage, elements like that. So we've addressed the lighting there in stages. We were able to just fix some lights that were out and order some new lights. And then also we are looking at lighting for our TAP grant area along East Main, North Main on the east side. And so lighting is a big issue that we're very aware of, but we hope that the pedestrian plan can serve as sort of an overall lighting plan. So I'll emphasize that to our consultants.
This would be separate from the regular lighting projects that you have too, really just more ancillary lighting for safety. And yes, we can do like a visual survey at night and just pick out dark pockets. It doesn't have to be a very expensive plan or anything, but just more of a safety issue. But
you're talking about doing a separate plan for lighting.
Yeah, I mean, unless we can coordinate with the current overall lighting plan, I mean, that would be great and probably more cost efficient. But if they're already well into that project, we can just do additional lights on this walkway.
Well, one of the things that the pedestrian plan will do is make all these recommendations to the town. Some of them are about things that you just normally consider to be part of a pedestrian plan, like you need a sidewalk here, you need a trail there, you need crosswalk improvements here. but they're not just limited to that. They can be, you need more pedestrian amenities of this sort and that sort. You need better lighting. And so the recommendation is do a lighting master plan, or there's a number of different recommendations it can make. And so while we're talking about just the pedestrian plan tonight, that can be included in the pedestrian plan as a general recommendation for the town to improve pedestrian, the walkability of the town. So
Well, if we haven't
that's a good place to put it.
approached
Sorry?
the master lighting plan, let's definitely propose that.
Yes. All
I
right.
mean, not only will that help the pedestrian plan, but that will save our city a lot of money with cost efficiencies, carbon reduction, and other goals that we have. I actually work in that space, so that's a good thing. And I would love to see, if we haven't had a plan being developed, and we take a look at that as a community, it would be a great thing for all of us.
Great. Yeah. And then as far as the shuttle system, are you talking about something that's more paratransit related, or just a shuttle that is constantly going, everybody can use at any time?
I mean, either or both. I have two thoughts. One was with handicapped people, somebody that can't make it and they still want to participate in the walkability or mobility without getting in a car, right? How can we accommodate those? Or even somebody that maybe just can't make the entire trip. If I don't know if I want to walk all the way from Sheridan, Waxhaw, but I might want to take a shuttle on a Friday night and have dinner with my husband and come back. So, I mean, that's just a great thing that I know other cities have run. Sometimes it's just on the weekends. Then we have another issue, which is related to parking in downtown. And I think, Blair, you and I have talked about before using remote parking locations and then having a shuttle system running just on the weekends to accommodate parking for Main Street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can make sure that gets, I'll definitely be talking to the consultant about it and see if they can include that in the plan as well. I mean, all the recommendations that you're making, I'm kind of hearing it with two ears. I'm hearing it with, okay, this is what we need to do with the pedestrian plan. And I'm working with the consultant on that. But then also, this is a general need for Waxhaw, and whether it gets in the pedestrian plan or not, it's something that we need to pursue. So you got both.
Great. Well, thanks for listening with both.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for the questions and comments, Terry. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add?
I just wanted to say something. First of all, I want to congratulate the Waxhaw Town Planning team, township team, for getting the successful involvement into the survey as well, which is still ongoing, and also on the meeting. But while Blair, you mentioned that there were only 7 people, but they were fully engaged. And I was just, the minute you said that, I started to think further that how can we get that better from the engagement perspective, that the 7 becomes 17 and so on and so forth. So if there would be anything that we could do or any ideas, that would be great.
Yeah, I think the easy answer to that is to have a live meeting where people can come to it. And so that's what we're planning on doing with our next meeting. It's just tough to get people to come to a virtual meeting about pedestrian planning. It's hard, no matter how much you advertise it, to drum up the interest for people. Or they might be interested if they see it, and then when the time comes, they're like, oh yeah, I forgot. But when you have a live meeting at a location, we know we can do a lot better with that.
Right. Otherwise, it just stays at the curiosity point and doesn't come into being engaged into it. And I think that the 50 who saw the videos later, they must be at the initial stage of curiosity, and hopefully they will be engaged in the next round of meeting.
That's our hope as well. And we'll be doing a lot of outreach to try to get that word out about the meeting and making it as easy as possible to attend. And we don't know, but there might be other opportunities in addition to the main meeting, to doing like little spot meetings in places, little pop-ups, That's something that the consultant has ventured, and but we want to make sure that we have one large meeting as well, and we know we can do it. We know we can pull it off. 'Cause
Right,
we've done it
and
before.
as part of the planning committee team, I would like to volunteer to help on the outreach on that as well, so that we get more involvement from the township.
Well, Deepa, we know we can always count on you for that, and we appreciate it. And so
Thank you.
we'll be in touch about that as soon as we start to nail that down a little bit more.
Thank
We
you.
give away a free dinner to downtown Waxhaw for, raffle for all the participants who show to these things.
Are you suggesting having a raffle to get people to come?
For dinner in Waxhaw, yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Do you
sign
have
up.
a restaurant in mind that would be able to perhaps do some of the? Oh yeah. Okay.
Anyone
All
else?
right.
They're all my favorites. Emmett?
Well, that would be an enormous help if y'all have connections with any of the local restaurants or whatever where they can provide something like that. Maybe have more than one raffle winner. That could be a huge help. So we would love to, make use of the connections that we have.
I'll
through
send you
there.
an email on that, Blair. And
Say again?
I'll send you an email on that. We'll follow
Okay,
up.
thank you.
I'm going to recruit Deepa and my neighbor to help me. So
I
I
was
hear
going to
she's
say
great.
that, Terry, please include me, and I would love to work with you on that.
thank you. I knew you would. Thanks,
I'm
Deepa.
feeling team spirit here. This is great. Thank you.
Best.
Great.
Well, thank you, Deepa. Thank you, Terry, again for your comments and questions. Does anybody else have anything they want to discuss?
Yeah, it's Charlie Thomas. I just wanted to ask, and maybe I missed it. I've only been here a few months, but Blair, is there currently a lighting plan underway or in progress? And the reason I'm asking is if the pedestrian plan identifies deficiencies in that, or if one identifies deficiencies in the other, will there be any plans to update either and or incorporate the two plans together?
Well, I was trying to say earlier that I'm not aware of any master lighting plan, but we do make improvements on a case-by-case basis. However, the pedestrian plan itself is very comprehensive and will make recommendations about things that will improve the walkability of the town, and lighting can feature very prominently in that plan. Just to say, I mean, it won't be a full-fledged lighting plan in itself, but it will recommend do a lighting plan, Waxhaw, you need it. And it will have some specific recommendations about what maybe that plan should include. And so the pedestrian plan can advance the cause. So I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure.
Absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Charlie. Anybody else? Well, I'll just a couple questions. You touched on it initially, Blair, and I inquired about this before, and all this comes down to funding. And we have a great plan and have all this great ideas and have a strategy, but if we can't fund it, it's going to go nowhere fast. And you said you're going to touch base with the staff about grants and other avenues. Were you able to get any feedback on that front?
Well, the pedestrian plan, again, comprehensive as it is, will make a number of recommendations about various funding strategies. It's not just going to say, okay, this is all the projects we recommend. Here's how much it costs. You're going to need money for this. It's going to go into detail about these kinds of projects can be funded through this means, these through that means, these sources, these grants. It's going to have a variety. I know when I wrote pedestrian plans, there were probably 10 to 20 pages of just talking about funding strategies at various levels, federal, state, local, private. So it will explore a lot of opportunities. It's a big part of the plan. So I don't know that I have anything for you before that. There are normal streams of funding that we use, particularly when doing transportation projects. I wouldn't be the best to speak to that. I would love to get one of our engineers in front of you who deal with that more directly. But yeah, funding is going to be a big part of what this plan will cover.
Great. And outreach and working in this in the past and working on grants, pedestrian grants, in my personal experience, engaging other elements like businesses, schools. Where are we? Have we started that outreach to those alternative sources for information in addition to residents?
We do it through the steering committee. We have members that represent those various groups in the town directly on our steering committee. And so, it's always something that we're trying to get more and more people involved, but we do have that core group that represents downtown businesses, schools, health, parks and rec. I mean, that's where, in various neighborhoods. So that's how we do that core outreach. And that's not just, that kind of input, they're the decision makers. They're the steering committee of this plan. So they have an enormous amount of influence. So that's how the plan is set up. I'm not sure if that covers everything that you're talking about, though.
No, it certainly does. You're reaching out to other sources for information.
Absolutely.
And then finally, on the surveys, thank you for presenting that map, and everybody has been discussing on ways to get out the word. On the surveys, are we able to find out how they're finding out about the survey, or where they hear about it? Or are we getting any feedback on what's been the most effective outreach and marketing this and bring this to people's attention? Or is there some kind of tracking system we're using for that?
That's a good question. I know that our group that we use for promotion and outreach has some metrics about who's hitting the websites, who's hitting the social media. We don't know, who all is seeing. We can also say where the flyers have gone. Beyond that, I'm not sure we have a great deal of information, but those provide some clues. We're after, with just years of experience, we know that there are areas that tend to not participate as much. No matter how much we blanket them with information, we know there's other areas where they just always know what's going on, whether that's because they're on social media a lot or whatever. There is a lot we can do, but you cannot just totally change human behavior. It's, people are gonna, but your question is, are we reaching everyone? That is our primary goal.
Yeah, no, I totally, I understand the challenge that lays before you. I'm trying to get the survey out and market the survey and bring awareness to this. So I know the challenge is great. So I appreciate that. With that, just if there's a tracking system, and if we have Deepa dropping off flyers at the local Harris Teeter, if there's some way of finding out if her use of time is more effective there, or Terry's there, or Charlie's over there, just there's a way of somehow tracking. I don't know how, but there's a ways that could serve us well.
Scott, I agree. It would be fantastic if we could track it better. But I would say this. In all my experience in the planning world, the best way to get the word out is by personal relationships. If somebody tells you about something and says, "Wow, check out this plan, this site, this survey," you're 10 times, 20 times more likely to look at it to if somebody told you about it. So it's kind of like the pyramid. And I want to encourage the planning board. This is a huge thing that y'all can do, is just get the word out to people because you guys know more about it than most people in this town. And you all collectively know a lot of people. So, we've sent emails in the past, and we'll send one following this meeting at some point that will have the survey link. Send it to 10 of your friends, and they send it to 10 of their friends. I don't mean to be glib, but seriously, that is the best way, is through those personal interactions to get people involved.
Acknowledge, Blair. Thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything to add to the discussion?
Yes, Jim Granger here. As far as funding of these projects goes, as I recall, there was a vehicle privilege tax passed in this town a few years back that was supposed to cover sidewalks and road improvements and such. Would not this pedestrian plan be covered under that? And there is a lot of your funding right there. Or has that been brought up, Blair?
Well, I don't think it's being ignored, although I have to admit I don't know a lot about it. I would say that I don't think there's any golden goose out there that we just haven't, we're just not aware of. And all we need to do is just, look for an egg from it. The money comes from, I'll tell you, the biggest sources is when NCDOT makes a road improvement and you have it on a plan that you want a sidewalk or a multi-use path or whatever, they build it. If it's on a plan, they will build it. And then the other way is through private development. If it says in your ordinance that, okay, when this development occurs, you have to have sidewalk along your street frontage, or if there's a greenway in your property, you've got to build it or whatever, whatever we ask them to do in the ordinance. Those are the two biggest ways in which things get built. I mean, but there's a lot of other ways too. And I don't know I really don't know anything about the vehicle privilege tax, but if it's available, we'll include that in the plan. And if you have any personal information, or if you have any information on it personally, please send it to us.
Okay, I'll look up what I have, but
Okay.
it was passed a few years ago specifically to build sidewalks and road improvements.
Okay. Well, again, if I had one of the engineers here that deal with it, they could speak more specifically to that. I apologize for my ignorance on the issue, but
Well,
we're certainly not going to overlook that with the team.
Yeah, I'd like to know where that money ended up going as well.
when you pay your vehicle taxes and registrations every year, you see it on there.
And it's a whopper here. We noticed that being new.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know where that is. Hey, just to add one other thing, Blair, you might have already looked at this, but Biden has a new package coming out for smart city development, and it's quite a lot of money coming down to any city that applies to implement initiatives for carbon reduction, a whole list. EV, e-mobility is part of that, smart street lighting. If you go into the smart city sustainability portion, the funds are just for the taking. So maybe that's something that we can pursue. I actually had a link to that. I can email it to you if that helps.
Please send it. Yes, thank you.
Yep, and it's new within the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fully passed, but I believe there's a lot of political pressure to go ahead. And of course, it's under the COVID bill. And so, we have
of course.
feelings about what, of course,
it's directly related.
Right. But for smart city development and sustainability, it's the opportunity is being capitalized upon for deciding how we will live. And for Waxhaw, if other cities are taking this, we can take advantage of this too and really just pick and choose the things that we want help funding with. And so it might be a great thing. So happy to take and get some more information on that for us as well.
Well, I'll be reporting directly back to the consultant with all these ideas, and any links or follow-up that you all can send me will help me as I amass all this and get it to them. And I think that a lot of it, they'll be saying, oh yeah, we know about that. We know about that. I mean, this is what they do. But yeah, particularly for new developments, we want to light a fire and make sure that we're taking advantage of whatever's out there that's intended for all this. or whatever it's intended for. If it's money available, yeah, we want to use it to the degree that it will benefit the town.
Thank you, Blair, and thank you, James, for your comments, and thank you, Terry, for your comments. Anybody else wants to add to the discussion? Okay. Again, Blair, thank you for your presentation and answering our questions and hearing our comments.
Well, I really appreciate all the feedback. It's great. It's really to the point and exactly what we need. And so, again, I just appreciate any other follow-up that y'all have for us.
Yeah, I do have a question that is not related to the pedestrian plan. Is it okay to ask that at this time about the land development code?
Well, this is Terry Nolan with the question.
This is Terry Nolan, sorry. I'll get better about that, I promise.
No problem. I forget too, Terry. No worries.
Sorry, dear. So I know we had passed that code. And then recently there's a bill that's progressing through North Carolina. I understand that there is some kind of federal initiative that they're voting on here, that the federal government would trump all local code. Any feedback on what's happening with that and how that might affect our measures here that we've implemented?
I have heard of legislation that's being considered at the state level. It did not mention, maybe I'm thinking about something else, because it did not mention the federal government taking on that level of local responsibility. There's probably a better way to phrase that, but no, I do know of legislation that is getting into multifamily type housing.
The same. Sorry, and I probably worded it incorrectly. And I think it's the federal. I think they wrote the code, and they're having it.
It's being considered in the House and the State House and Senate. That involves putting limitations on local government as far as what it can include in its local zoning, having to do with curtailing certain uses or not prohibiting duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes in what's otherwise single family residential. It also it also deals with let's see, just additional dwelling units within a property. It covers a wide range of things, and I know that the local, or rather the state APA, is trying to draft a response to it, because it really cuts it really pulls the rug out under local authorities in being able to zone and basic land use law. I can give you a summary of that particular legislation.
No, I mean, I have it, I've seen it. And
Okay.
General concern that basically it just takes our authority away to determine what our communities look like.
It basically does.
Undermines the entire infrastructure of the state and how they choose to run their state with development. Everything becomes multi-use, and there are other initiatives coming down under sustainability that will drive
exactly
certain populations in different directions and planning, and they really want to take it a lot farther than this. So
yeah, well, we listened in on the state APA in their discussions of this legislation, and so it's right now it's to be continued. We'll see what comes of it. It's certainly something that could have far-reaching effects and is a concern. I think in some ways it has good intentions, but in other ways it doesn't seem to go about it in a way that will really benefit local government and local accountability. So I appreciate your concern, Terry. I don't know that other than provide you a very, very good summary of it that I can. I've got it prepared. I'm not doing it too good off the top of my head, but I mean, I do have a very good summary of what the law would include, or what the bill includes rather. So I'd be happy to send that out if you like.
If you have a summary, sure, I'd love to take a look at it. And let's just hope they don't make us all move to Charlotte. That's all right. We don't
I
want
don't know if you'd be better off. I live in Charlotte. I don't know.
There's some kind of central urbanization plan that's, sort of high level at the UN they've been talking about for years. And hopefully this just doesn't go through. So,
Well, it's crazy times we live in, Terry. So who knows?
it is, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Blair. Do we have any more discussions on this item? Very well. So the next item on the agenda is F, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I, Deepa Limay, make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Deepa. And Alyssa, can we have a vote?
Chairman Scott Shelton,
Chairman Shelton, aye.
Vice Chair Bob Morgan,
Vice Chairman Morgan, aye.
Nicholas Nash,
Aye.
Mary Nolan,
Aye.
Deepa Limay,
Aye.
Charlie Thomas,
Aye.
James Granger.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, everybody, again, for their participation. Thank you, Blair, for your presentation. Alyssa, thank you as always. And I will officially call adjournment to this meeting for April 19th, 2021. Have a good night, everybody.
I don't.
Thank you. Have a good night.